She walked through the front door just as the sun dipped below the horizon, her silhouette framed by fading light, and for a moment I thought I was hallucinating. My mother, gone for 2 decades, standing in our living room with a single suitcase in hand. I remember the day she left like it was yesterday. The slam of her car door, the screech of tires on the driveway, and the way her eyes never met mine as she backed out of the driveway and disappeared. 20 years later, here she was, looking as if time hadn't touched her at all. The first thing I noticed was her silence. She didn't speak. Instead, she simply dropped the suitcase on the floor and turned toward me. My heart pounded so loud I was sure she could hear it. I hadn't dared to hope she would ever come back, yet here she was, my mother, returning without a word of explanation. I blinked, hesitated, then asked the question that had haunted me every year, every birthday, every graduation, every holiday. Why? Her lips trembled. She swallowed hard. "I'm sorry," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. That single phrase opened a floodgate of emotions: anger, disbelief, longing. I wanted to scream at her for abandoning us. I wanted to demand an explanation. I wanted to run into her arms. But instead, I stood frozen, the years of unanswered questions tightening around my chest like a vice. She finally stepped forward and hugged me stiffly, as though we were strangers. The moment was awkward and painful, but behind it I sensed a well of regret deeper than any ocean. We sat at the kitchen table, the suitcase forgotten at our feet. My father hovered near the doorway, torn between fury and relief. My brother, only 12 when she left, stared at her as though trying to decide whether she was real. I watched her closely, searching her face for the woman I once knew. She began, glanced at my father, then continued. I had to go. Those words hit me like a punch. I leaned back in my chair. Had to? I echoed. What could be more important than your own family? Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't leave because I didn't love you. I left because I was running out of time. My father snorted. Running out of time on what? You disappeared without a trace. We thought you were dead. I almost was, she replied. Her hands trembled, fingers twisting in her lap. When I was diagnosed, I was told I had a year left. I couldn't watch you all grow up watching me die. She looked at me, her gaze shimmering with unshed tears. I wanted to spare you that pain. I stared at her, the room spinning. Cancer. How could I not have known? How could she have suffered that alone? I couldn't handle it, she whispered. I thought if I left, you'd heal faster without the shadow of my illness hanging over you. I felt bile rise in my throat. You didn't leave us a chance to decide. She reached out, her fingertips grazing mine. I know, I was wrong. I'm so sorry. At that moment, the past 20 years crowded into the room. I saw my mother's empty chair at the dinner table, birthdays celebrated by my father alone, Christmas mornings without her laughter, my brother's prom night without a proud mother beside him. All those milestones she sacrificed, convinced absence would protect us. My brother stood, breaking the tension. If you were dying, why didn't you tell me? We could have been there for you. Her face crumpled. I didn't want you to see me like that. I didn't want your memories of me tainted by pain. Silence followed. The ticking clock felt unbearably loud. Finally, my father spoke, voice low. You died anyway. You turned into a stranger. We missed you more than anything. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I know. I thought I was doing the right thing. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath. The woman sitting across from me was my mother, but also a stranger who had made choices I could barely forgive. Yet she was here now, her heart in her hands. We spent hours talking that night. She told us about the treatments, the surgeries that didn't work, the experimental drug trial that gave her an extra decade of life. She told us about the guilt that ate at her every day, the fear that faced her in hospital beds across the country. We listened, our anger slowly melting into understanding. By midnight, the air between us felt lighter, as if sharing the truth had lifted a weight we hadn't realized we all carried. My mother apologized again and again. We held each other and cried. The next morning, we found the suitcase still in the kitchen. She asked if she could stay, and my father nodded, his eyes red but resolute. My brother offered her breakfast. I watched her cut a slice of toast and pour juice, something so ordinary that it felt miraculous. Over the following days, she began to rebuild her place in our lives, one small step at a time. She helped with groceries, sat with my father watching old sitcoms, and even coached my brother's basketball practice. I felt the old rhythm slowly returning, the warmth in her smile, the way her laugh filling the room. Still, there were awkward moments. My brother showed her edgy memes and she had no idea what he was laughing at. I caught her staring at family photos, silently mourning the missing years. But with each passing day, we grew more accustomed to her presence. One afternoon, she and I walked through the backyard, now overgrown and wild. She knelt beside a rose bush that had once been her pride and joy. The branches were tangled, thorns sharp, but we pruned together, cutting away dead wood to encourage new growth. "This rose always reminded me of you," she said, her voice soft, sturdy yet delicate. I paused, clipped a stray branch. "I thought you'd forgotten it." She shook her head, brushing soil from her fingers. "I never forgot." We worked in silence, the sun warm on our backs. I realized then that healing wouldn't be instant, that trust would take time, just like those roses that needed season after season to bloom again. That evening, we gathered for dinner, my mother, my father, my brother, and me. The table was set with our favorite dishes, spaghetti with meatballs, garlic bread, and a fresh salad. My mother offered a toast. "To second chances," she said, her eyes glistening. "To family." We clinked glasses. I looked around at us together, and for the first time in years, I felt whole. She stayed that night in her old bedroom, the one she had painted bright yellow before she left. The next morning, I found her reading an old journal on the bed. I sat beside her. "You're home," I said softly. She closed the journal and smiled. "I am." And in that simple moment, I knew our story had begun anew, wounded but hopeful, broken but mending. The woman who left 20 years ago had returned, and with her the promise of healing the scars of the past. We had half a story behind us, an entirely new chapter ahead. And as I looked at her, I was ready to write it together. We spent the next morning like strangers, learning to be friends again. At breakfast, Mom hesitated over the cereal box labels, so Dad patiently explained the difference between granola and muesli. My brother and I shared a grin across the table. Simple moments that once felt ordinary now seemed precious. After breakfast, Mom suggested we visit the community garden her club had planted years ago. As we piled into the car, I felt a flutter of anticipation mixed with nerves. Would people recognize her? Would she feel out of place after 20 years away? When we arrived, faded trellises held brave sunflowers and climbing beans. The air smelled of earth and promise. Several neighbors, older women with gardening gloves and sun hats, spotted us and waved. One by one, they approached Mom with warm hugs, tears in their eyes, greeting her as though she'd just returned from a short vacation rather than 2 decades abroad. "It's so good to have you back," Mrs. Jensen said, her voice wobbling. "We've missed your green thumb." Mom's eyes shone. "I've missed all of you." I watched her interact with these friends, women who had written letters, cared for her rose bushes, and kept her seat at weekly tea. She smiled easily now, relaxed and genuine. For the first time since she walked in, she belonged. That afternoon, back at home, Mom and I sat cross-legged on her old bedroom floor, sorting through dusty boxes she had unpacked. One box held letters, wrapped in rubber bands, each stamped with my childish handwriting. "Dear Mommy, I miss you. Will you come home?" I picked up a letter dated my 10th birthday. I opened it and ran my finger over a hastily drawn heart. Mom took it gently. "I read these every night," she said. "They kept me going." Tears pricked my eyes. Why didn't you tell me?" She exhaled. "I was sorry, always sorry, but I'm here now." I nodded. "That means something." As evening fell, Dad grilled burgers in the yard while my brother challenged Mom to a game of horseshoes. I sat on the porch, watching them laugh, her competitive spirit intact. Dad flicked me a sideways glance and nodded. No words were needed. Mom was home, and we were rebuilding our family. Over the next week, we fell into a new routine. Weekday mornings started with quick hellos over toast and coffee. Mom drove my brother to school, blasting his favorite pop songs. I found her in my room one afternoon, perched on my desk chair, scrolling through my playlist. "Why do you like this song?" she asked, laughing at the lyrics. "It's ridiculous," I admitted, "but it makes me smile." She clicked play, and we danced around the room until I collapsed onto the bed, breathless and grinning. Soon, Mom volunteered at my college's library, helping shelf books and chat with students about her adventures. She enrolled in a painting class at the local rec center and rekindled her passion for watercolors. My brother and I walked by the art studio one day and peeked through the window. There she was, brush in hand, painting a sunrise over the lake. One evening, we gathered in the living room for movie night, PJs, popcorn, and classic family films. Mom dozed off halfway through, leaning against Dad's shoulder. I caught sight of her peaceful expression and felt a surge of hope. 2 weeks in, she invited us to a surprise backyard picnic. The lawn glowed under strings of fairy lights, and a table was set with her famous potato salad, freshly baked rolls, and a cake she'd made from scratch, just like old times. My heart welled as I saw photos of our childhood taped to the picnic arbor. Us on our first camping trip, birthday parties with friends, graduation ceremonies. Mom tapped her glass. We quieted. "I want to thank you all for giving me a chance to come home," she began. "I know I can't get those 20 years back, but I promise to make new memories with you." My brother raised an eyebrow. "So you're not planning to leave again?" She laughed, a clear, bright sound. "No more running. I'm here to stay." Dad stood and wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "Welcome home, love." I looked at her, tears glossing my eyes. "We've missed you." She smiled, and for the first time, I truly believed it. Spring turned into summer, and our family life flourished. We went on weekend road trips to the lake, pitched tents under starlit skies, and roasted marshmallows over campfires. Mom taught my brother to fish. I learned to canoe without tipping over. She and Dad danced in the living room to old records, her head resting on his chest. During the summer festival, Mom signed up for the storytelling stage and shared her journey, a tale of love, fear, sacrifice, and hope. When she finished, the audience cheered, tears in many eyes. I stood backstage, my chest tight with pride. After the show, she hugged me. "I couldn't have done this without you." I kissed her cheek. "I couldn't have missed you more." By midsummer, Mom had organized a neighborhood cookbook, collecting recipes from everyone around. She spent afternoons testing dishes, scribbling notes, and laughing with the older ladies she'd missed so dearly. The first printing sold out in days, raising funds for the children's library she loved. One warm afternoon, we gathered on the porch swing. The sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink. My brother strummed his guitar softly while Mom turned the pages of a photo album we'd created. We paused at a picture of Mom holding me as a baby. "You were so tiny," she whispered. I leaned my head on her shoulder. "And you were always my hero, even when you weren't here." Her hand caressed her hair. "I'm learning what it means to be your hero again." As the cicada sang, I realized that healing wasn't a single moment, but a journey. A tapestry woven from everyday acts of love and forgiveness. My mother had returned, bringing with her a new chapter, filled with laughter, tears, and the quiet magic of ordinary days. One morning in late July, I woke to find Mom in the kitchen, humming as she kneaded dough for cinnamon rolls. The smell of sugar and spice drifted through the house. I padded downstairs and poured myself coffee. She slipped a warm roll onto my plate and kissed me on the forehead. "I'm proud of you," she said softly. I smiled, warmth flooding me. "I'm proud of you too." We sat together at the table, the world outside waking up around us. 20 years of absence had left scars, but they were healing. With each shared sunrise, each new memory. We had learned that family could endure, and that sometimes the greatest love is the willingness to come home. And so, our story didn't end with goodbye. It continued with every hug, every laugh, and every morning spent side by side. My mother had returned, and with her came the promise of a lifetime of ordinary miracles.